Probably the best thing that I've ever learned about anxiety is that there is a beginning, middle, and end to every emotional experience that we have. As anyone out there who's ever experienced anxiety knows, anxiety can honestly be really crippling. And it can take us to some of the darkest places that we might ever go. But one thing that is absolutely true is this: no matter what we're experiencing, there is always going to be a beginning, middle, and end to every emotional experience we have. And I think that that's really, really important to understand and know, because it doesn't change the fact that anxiety is physiological, and anxiety is certainly an uncomfortable feeling. But something that I wish I could reach in your heart and have you feel is this: to understand that our minds always want to match our bodies. So here's what I mean by this. Imagine if we downed 3 energy drinks right away, right? So if we downed 3 energy drinks, our heart's going to start to race, and our bodies are going to have the physiological sensation of anxiety. So this is our body, and it's experiencing the physical sensations of anxiety. Now remember, our minds always want to match our bodies. So our mind will create a story to make sense of why our bodies are feeling all this anxiety. We might think, oh no, I forgot to do this, or I forgot to handle that, or I missed this deadline, or whatever it is, whatever the story is. And then when we tell ourselves that panic story, it sends more cortisol throughout our body, more adrenaline, which makes our body feel worse, which of course leads to us creating more of a story, and on and on. And this is very powerful to understand, because yes, it's true that anxiety itself is physiologically uncomfortable. In other words, our bodies are going to experience discomfort with anxiety. As someone who's not only had 20,000 hours of clinical counseling experience, but also as someone who has deeply and intensely experienced anxiety himself, I can tell you that yes, this physiological sensation of anxiety in the body, my goodness, is that uncomfortable. But, and here's the catch, what is uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's impossible to handle. And this is really a huge key, because remember, there will be a beginning, middle, and end to every emotional experience that we have. So yes, this is uncomfortable, but it's not the end of the world, and yes, I can handle it. And this is something I'd love for you to really understand deeply, because I'm not saying that when we change our self-talk around, we'll just eliminate all anxiety. We might still experience some physiological anxiety. But if we can learn to not create a story and add to that anxiety, then what we could do is almost step outside of ourselves and look inward to just notice and be mindful of the physical experience that we're having. In other words, let's say I start to feel physiologically anxious. I down those 3 energy drinks. Then I might step outside myself and say, wow, look, that guy's stomach is really feeling uncomfortable. This heart rate in this person is really moving fast. But when I can notice it, when I can be objective about the way I'm assessing what's happening inside this body, then I don't have to create that story that will add to the anxiety. This is really a huge key to handling anxiety. To, as I said, first and foremost, understand that there will be a beginning, middle, and end to every emotional experience you have. To understand not to create or add a story to the already uncomfortable experience you're having, and to be mindful of the language that you use around the experience that you're having. In other words, it's healthy and helpful to say things like, you know what, this is really uncomfortable, but I can handle it. Or something along the lines of, I really don't like how I feel in this moment, but it's not the end of the world and I will get through it. And the more that we can speak in a realistic way to ourselves, the more empowered we are to be able to handle this crippling and awful feeling of anxiety. So remember, there's a beginning, middle, and end to every emotional experience. Adding a story to the already uncomfortable experience of anxiety will only intensify it for you. And finally, and I think this is really important to know, we can't hold two opposing physical states at the same time. In other words, we can't be anxious and calm at the same time. And I want you to really think about what it looks like when you're really at peace, when you feel calm. You might think about your breathing when you're calm. When you're calm, your breathing's going to slow down. And when you're feeling anxious, your breathing might speed up. And so it's really important to be mindful of your breath and to be mindful of taking time to slow your breath down. Understanding this can significantly impact how you experience anxiety. I know first and foremost that anxiety can be so tough to deal with. But using these strategies will significantly help you. So be mindful. Beginning, middle, end. Don't create a story. I'm okay. I can handle this. Now, I'm not saying that you could just end watching this video and all of a sudden magically handle everything perfectly. It's going to take time. It's going to take practice. But what I would love to reach in your heart and have you feel is that with practice, you absolutely can get tremendously better at it. And I certainly hope that all of this information brings you tons of peace.